Hello and welcome to Sport Tonight. I'm Cecilia Mogbe in Lagos.
Well, greetings to you wherever you are in the world watching us. In London, I'm Austin Okonakpan.
All right, Austin, this is what the show looks like tonight. Of course, you talked about the minister yesterday saying walk the talk, but he's taking practical step because he's got a twofold agenda, and that's what we'll be discussing on the program tonight. And also talk about the transfer deadline. It's 9 p.m. here in Nigeria. By 11 p.m., well, that's when the deadline in England will be over. And of course, the fact that Al Ittihad, that's the biggest, one of the biggest 4 clubs in Saudi Arabia Pro League, actually putting in £150 million for Mo Salah, and they intend to increase it to 200, and Liverpool will have to sell. But Jurgen Klopp says this Salah is not for sale. All he needs to do, agree to say you're coming, and you earn £1.5 million a week. That's the tag, that's the money for Mo Salah. It's on the table. All he needs to do is to say, okay, I'm not committed to Liverpool. I need to join my mates in Saudi Arabia. But they said he's not leaving, he's not going anywhere. And of course, he said he's committed to the club. We'll talk about that. So many transfers happening. Johnny Evans going back to Manchester United after so many years, just on a free. There's so much more to talk about on the program. Of course, we'll touch down on the big game this weekend. Austin, you know what's going to happen on Sunday in the UK right there. Manchester United and Arsenal very early in the season. These two sides facing each other. With the travel travails that have been facing United, most of the players injured, we'll see what they can be able to produce. They're getting in some new players. Tell you about the new signings they're also getting on the program. But first, Austin, okay, not just Austin. We've got It's a Friday, and Shegun Vincent is on the program.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, welcome back. I'm not saying
Thank you.
I hope you have goodies for me.
Yeah, enough of it.
It's good to be back on the show on a lovely Friday edition.
All right, so we're going to start off with the sports minister issue concerning the fact that he's taking practical step. I mean, practical step is practical step. But first, not the practical step. Let's listen to him talking about the concession that we talked about at the National Stadium right here in Lagos. He feels that the only way they can continue in that state is for what? To actually try as much as possible to continue with what the former sport minister started. If concession is the way, then that is the way he will follow.
This facility built around the 60s, put to use functionally during the All-African Games, second All-African Games, has gone through a lot. It's gone through a lot. I mean, this shouldn't be the symbol of our sports in a city that is referred to as a sports city. And I'm glad that the processes towards the eventual concessioning of this facility has gone far. If that's what it's going to take to restore back the glory of this facility, I endorse it 100%. I've been inspecting the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja. I mean, I was briefed that some years back, government was presented with a bill which required that Julius Berger, that built that facility in 2003, continues the maintenance. And government couldn't provide. Unless we are careful, unless something quickly happens, even with the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja, too bad, it may get to the same state and situation that Lagos is facing. And this would be a shame.
I guess it's something we really don't want to allow, we won't allow it to happen. I believe that's what all of them will be saying. But Shegun, I'm going to bring you in here. I mean, you listen to the sports minister talking about, because of what happened at the National Stadium right here in Lagos, he doesn't want such to happen again in Abuja. And we've seen what Sunday Diary did, concession having to give it out to a private sector for them to actually maintain. But if this continues, that may just be the way to go. But if we can't continue like that, obviously, we might just see, Abuja Stadium owning up like Lagos, but God forbid it doesn't happen.
Well, I like what you said. I like the fact that it's being proactive. I think we've not had as much ministers who have been proactive. You know, pending to him being confirmed as the Minister for Sports, you remember that some people had some form of they didn't like the fact that he didn't have some level from sport background history.
Yeah.
Like he had come from a very different industry coming to sport background. But that doesn't mean anything if the person will deliver the job. Can he do the job? I think, and now in less than 1 week or so, he's getting the ground running. I think that's a good step in the right direction, trying to show forth leadership, because leadership is very important. Management, leadership, administration, these are big issues we have in Nigeria, especially across our sector, not really in sports. And I like the fact that he's trying to push out to, because, you know, under the former administration, there were issues as again the National Stadium, who he was giving to management, etc., and not just gone forth there, because I've been a couple of times after that time. And
it's just the field,
And of course, when it all happened to Abuja, that from one of the best stadiums, to come out from this world in Nigeria, we're going back to not being managed, and everything like that on management, maintenance, etc. We saw what happened to the courts that they did, the basketball courts, started to be basketball I think 2 years ago, and the courts are not being maintained, and they're already spoiling the one in the other world. So the same thing too. We need to start maintaining our facilities, and which is very important. Look at the countries like UK, like even Ghana, even South Africa. You see how they are stadia, their facilities are being maintained. We need to get to that level of maintenance, and I believe that administrative-wise is thinking proactive, is trying to set the gun running, trying to put right people in right places. I believe that we will also, because in Nigeria we have a history of saying things and not doing things. We have a history of not starting very well and ending on a bad note, and I believe that he will be accountable to whatever he says, and that there are records on there, and like they said, the receipts are there. So let's say I pounds out for him, and let's see how we work out, and let's see how the facilities have been maintained. Yeah,
Austin, you know you were asking so many questions yesterday, and he answered some of your questions because he's actually taking practical steps. Those are some of the things he will do. Of course, starting with the National Stadium and the concession. He wants to see if that's the way to go in terms of maintenance.
I'm waiting to see the practical steps, Cecilia. They are still talking, and this is all talks, and it's not new to us. But I like the fact that there's something on ground for him to work with. There's something on ground for him to consolidate upon. So whatever partnership that the former minister Sunday Dare had on ground, because he had the support for Adopt a Pitch initiative, out of the Adopt initiative concept of Sunday Dare and his team. I think it was a good one, and Senator John Owen Enoch can consolidate on that because it's very important. I see that he's talking about twofold of sports, sports development and sport for development. So you need that partnership. And this is not the first time we're hearing concessioning of the national stadiums. I started hearing it from the days of Danagogo, and then Solomon Dalon came on, made a lot of noise about it. And then Sunday Dare came, couldn't do much, but they had in phases what they wanted for the National Stadium in Lagos and Abuja. And to an extent, they realized something from Abuja, but Lagos is still a shadow of itself. So now that the minister has gone there, he has looked at it again, just like every other minister, and he's telling us the approach that they're going to use, and once again inviting the private sector to come into it. I think that's the way to go, because when you bring in the private sector, you're ready to treat it as a business. But is government ready? What sort of policies do we have on ground to attract private investors? What are the implementation plans? Because at the end of the day, what these private investors have been fortunate to speak to some say is that they frustrate them with government bureaucracy. So government should be ready to see this to fruition. Enough of the talks. We've been talking and talking, and I just want action. Because as I said yesterday on the show, I did a report about the National Stadium before I left. We can just change the date and play it, and everything is still the same. So that report is still evergreen as long as this National Stadium is still looking the way it is. So it's a shame, and I really hope that it will touch government, because that is millions of naira that can be made every day just wasting, and it's been wasting since the year 2000, and it's such a big shame. Anyway, the the sport minister didn't just visit and didn't just talk about the national stadium. He's been telling us about the approaches he's going to use to, be remembered as sports minister. And he said that there's a twofold agenda. What are these folds? Let's listen to the sports minister again.
To have as sports development minister is going to be twofold. One is the development of sports, and this development, of course, is divided into those two aspects: grassroots development. To what extent are we as a ministry and as a country able to provide the infrastructure and the amenities at the grassroots level, where oftentimes the talents are located? You're not only going to see so much in Ikoyi, as much as you're going to see in the interior. Abi, I don't know what has become of Ajengule. All such areas are the areas you have untapped talents, people that would not ever have the opportunity to express themselves. In those interior, to what extent are we able to provide a basketball pitch, for example, that can expose people with talents? A lot of the time, those that have become the world champions in boxing, they have not come from Maitama or from Isokoro. Where have they come from? They have come from those areas neglected. So that is what we try to provide in terms of development of sports at the grassroots. Not just saying it, but taking physical steps towards ensuring that it is done. That at the end of my term as Minister of Sports, and I don't know how long Mr. President is going to keep me here, that we have things measurable, things that provide that social inclusion that our people need to be able to explode. Because at the end of the day, that translates to what? To the other aspect of sports development, elite sports, to end us the laurels and the medals. To what extent am I going to establish and encourage running leagues in other sports that we have found out that we excel in as a nation? If we're going to have challenges with school sports and trying to see what can happen, to what extent are we going to establish under 19 league competitions for those different sports that we'll be doing well at? It's very important.
I agree. It is very, very important. Sports development, that's the bane for any country that wants to, excel in sports. Let me go to Segun Vincent. You listen to the minister.
Yes.
Is this same old talks, or you're confident this time around that you're listening to someone who is ready to turn things around?
Confidence, I can't give you a yes or a no for that. But I believe that the man knows his onions. I know, like I said before, we went on the interview with him. From his background, when people dragged him that he didn't have the necessary the vigor to be able to handle the position. But watching the interview, and this man knows his onions. He knows what he wants to do. He knows how he has a plan for the country as regards sports. But then. There's Wisdom once said something some years ago. He said there's a difference between 1 hour of saying something and 1 hour of doing something. So you can get all the old books, get all the old linguistics and be lingual and speak all the old English that you want to speak from the dictionary. And if you don't do it, it's as good as you didn't even say anything in the first place. So I believe that Nigerians are getting wiser. Nigerians are ready to drag you by the neck by what you said. That if you said that by so time and this and this, you have this time and this plan, and if you are not accountable to doing those things, they would be able to put you on the integrity list. That are you very viable enough to go for another 4 years, or probably if you are lucky enough that you don't get sacked before the 4 years, then they will look at you and see what you have done. I believe that the man, of course, third-year man, has been on the block for a while, been in the Senate, handled positions, a probably businessman, of course. For you to be a businessman, you must be intelligent, you must be eloquent, you must have been well experienced, well traveled both home and abroad. But I believe that we need to have patience, we have to have patience because everything he said won't happen tomorrow, Saturday. It's going to take time to happen. But let's see that there are some baby steps. So let's say baby will first crawl. From when he crawls, he will stagger. From when he staggers, and he will sit. When we sit, we'll crawl, and we'll walk. From walk, we'll pick positions and then start running and other things. So let's see baby steps. Baby steps will determine whether all what he's saying is true or false. So let's see how it pans out for him.
But what I think my takeaway from him is the fact that he understands infrastructure is key. That infrastructure that he talked about, when you have infrastructure at the grassroots level, you'll be able to harness the talents that you have. I think that's what I'm taking away from this, one of the first folds. But then, Austin, we have to listen to the second fold because he says it's got a two-fold agenda. That's what he wants to focus on. Development of sports, which has to do with facilities, and of course, so let's listen to him talking about the second one.
The National Industry Sports Policy that I came to meet, the main thrust is seeing sports as business. Perhaps that's what we've been lacking, and I think that's what we're going to seek to pursue. At the end of the day, my determination is the extent to which we can revolutionize sports in our country. Very key, very important. And see the extent to which we can continue to tap on its contribution to our national unity and our national integration. There is no sector that showcases the green, white, green color of our country as much as the sports sector, isn't it? Just this visit alone, you can see how many people are on our national color. And I think that every serious government must seek to tap from the potentials of this. At the end of the day, if you're a businessman, you look at the business aspect of it. Without prejudice to the fact that because we don't have a program and a policy, every day our athletes are exiting our country and preferring to compete for other countries. How much do we do to redirect that? All these things are things that are going to engage and occupy us. And it's important for us to pursue them. So I'm going to require what? Not just my determination and my passion. I'm going to require the support of the media. That support is key and is critical.
Yeah, the support will come when you're doing the right thing. That's what happened. Austin, I believe this is where you will come in because he mentioned something that burns our hearts. Because tap into the potentials that you have. And how do you tap into it? First, he talked about establishing infrastructure at grassroots level. And then you have those potentials, you harness them. So our athletes don't get to represent other countries. We've seen droves of athletes, actually a lot of them leaving the country because the way they start is actually difficult. Thanks to what the collegiate system in the US is actually helping us to build our own athletes. You know, some of them, I mean, started from here, running on bare feet and no infrastructure, nothing. That's why it's hard for us to even have right now, long jumpers and hurdlers, very, very difficult. Even, I mean, there's so many sports that right now is hard for high jump, for instance, to get athletes. Because when you talk to them, they'll tell you that they don't have the facilities. And because they don't have that, they get injured easily. And then when they have opportunity to go, even if it's Benin Republic, they're just up and they go.
Cecilia, so I struggle to talk about sports development in Nigeria because each time you talk about it, people just, that term grassroots has suffered. Everybody that wants to do sports now just say grassroots, and they don't understand
what it is
to develop sports at the grassroots. It is bottom to top. That bottom to top approach, you must respect it. You see, I can give you examples over and over again, and 1 hour will come and I'll still be talking because even look at the young talents we have at the moment. That approach from bottom to top was respected. And that's why they're still excelling. Toby Amuson, I started covering her when she was representing Delta. Ese Brume, the same thing. And look at them today because they started from the bottom left the country, went to where there were standards, went to an enabling environment, infrastructure not a problem, and so their talent blossom. That is what it is, you know. And I've been reading lately, thank God the minister is talking, before we go on a quick break. According to UNICEF Office of Research, Sport for Development uses sports to achieve crucial, that's the word, crucial outcomes for children and youth, such as learning. So sports must get into that curriculum for education. It's sports for education, health, sports for health, empowerment, and protection. So you don't just get up and shout the grassroots. What are the programs? The channels, International Kids Cup that we were doing as channels television, we put in education into it, telling young talents at the age of 13 that talent is not enough. That if you join talent and education, you become a superstar. And we did well. Let's go on this quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with this conversation. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, Sports Tonight, on your award-winning sports loving. Yes, we love sports so much right here on Channels Television, and we're taking a look at everything that is going down as regards sports development in Nigeria. And Cecilia and Segun Vincent, I was talking about the importance of sports for development, and I said if we want to get into that conversation, then the ministry, we know that they've got a lot of work to do. But let me get to Segun Vincent. Segun, I've realized that we always want to concentrate on the big things and ignore the small things that really matters. For instance, we're always looking at stadium. We want to renovate the stadium, we want to build stadiums, and then we lack simple indoor sporting facilities. Look at Rwanda, Cecilia. In the last 3 years, any indoor activity you can think of in Africa, it goes to Rwanda, because they just sat down and said, we cannot just be putting money on just stadium. Let's invest in the little things. And now they built proper infrastructure that will take about 5,000 people, and it is doing the work.
That's fast.
You know, I like what you said there. And we don't have facilities that can self-sustain on its own, or we don't have 24-hour facilities. I can count the amount of probably pitches that are around 24 hours. In Iceland, for example, now, I think in 2014 or so, they created pitches in almost every driveway. There were 24 hours, they had street lights, and they do that in various European countries. Yes, it's not a testament to the fact that they were going to have all global stars and all that. Well, at least they have the facilities here. How many facilities do we have in Nigeria? In Lagos, for example, that are 24 hours, that have those facilities. There's a basketball court in 1G4, but it's in a private estate. They're not going to allow outsiders to come and use the basketball court. They're not going to pay. It's not free. It's not free. I think it's for them. I think so. 500, 1,000 for you to go there. There's another facility for football, somewhere around Shrine. I think but it's not free. They have to pay a certain amount of money for it.
It's privately owned. So
until we have facilities like that can be maintained, and I can allow people living on the street to be able to use those facilities, and where the private partnership comes in, you know, private sector should come in and do something. I was talking to Cecilia when we were on break that in America, for example, now, a college athlete, even in some cases, a high school athlete can have shoe deals. I know a popular high jumper that got shoe deals from college. Shoe deals, and these are where, so we have people that play Principal Cup, they don't have shoes. I remember when we were secondary school then, we go and play, and they wouldn't have shoes. We go and with shoes, no jersey, we have to go and buy bib, and I've watched the bib, the bib is not a bib again, it's now hip. So I believe that we need the government to participate, we need private partners to participate, we also need administrators to come in too, and also need people that have a legacy plan, people that are planning for 10 years, for 20 years, for 30 years to come. I remember talking about Australia some years back, how Australia moved from, they used to get medals in the Olympics, and they started creating facilities, started bringing in coaches that were well-renowned, that were popularly trained. And today, Australia, if you talk about Olympics today, Australia are usually first two when it comes to winning of medals in the Olympics, even in the Commonwealth. This is a way, yes, you know that football is not their calling, but at least when it comes to swimming, when it comes to certain sports, they are number one and number two, at best and number three. So this is an area we need to look at. Well, I'm going to major. We can go in all sport, but we should have like a major sport that this sport, you know, guys, it won't be that die, we will die for the year. So I believe that this is an area we need to look at, and of course, long-term plan is very, very important in doing sports. Sports is not just a short-term plan. We can't just plan today and get results tomorrow. No, and the more the seed we sow, the more the fruit we reap in the future.
Yeah, you just mentioned that Australia, I mean, they know that football is not the strength, so you don't go there. But let me tell you what happened after the Women's World Cup. $200 million Australian dollars. That's what the government is investing in only women's football.
Wow.
Okay. Now tell me what's going to happen in next 2 or 3 editions. To tell you a whole lot, because they've seen something that, hey, we're good at this. Let's put money into it. And Austin, I mean, you said it all about sport development. We know what to do. It's just for us to do the right thing, and then the results will come. Because a talent is not, and it has never been a problem for Nigeria. Infrastructure is number one, and of course, harnessing that talent and elite sports, focusing on it, and not lip service. Because I mean, we all know that. If you don't have the athletes, why are you in the position? There is no point. You can just cancel all the federations when you don't have athletes.
I think
it's as simple as that.
I think the sports minister should watch this show often and listen to everything we're talking about, you know. Because if he's listening to a lot of persons that claim to know the industry, meanwhile, most persons, they are charlatans, then he would do the same thing that every other person has been doing. If we want to remember Sunday Diary for good, we should thank him for that sports industry policy. The minister needs to sit down with his team and study that document, expunge the important ones, particularly now that he has said it is focusing on twofold, particularly sports for development, using sports for social change in our country. Very, very important. And then the business side of it also. So government should be able to sit down with stakeholders and say, what do you want from us as government to support you so we can partner? Road Park is just there wasting. The minister should sit down with the governor of Lagos State and say, what do you want from government to make Road Park a fantastic infrastructure for indoor sporting activities? Sit down with the Ministry of Education and say, what can we do to put sports in some way into the curriculum? Because in Nigeria now, if you say you're a sports person and you go to run in one big competition, school does not pause for you. When you come back, the lecturer says, oh, you are coming to school and you are going to play football, do athletics, and then you start suffering. Those are the areas we should identify first, and then sit down with businessmen and women and say, what do you understand by using sport for business? And then maybe we might just start making some changes, Cecilia.
I hope so. We have stories coming from university games. That's something we'll have to discuss on a special day. I mean, when you can't even carry university athletes that qualify to participate in World University Games, it tells you a whole lot. Okay, let's leave that and quickly go to England. The English Premier League is going to get our attention. Now we'll take a look at the fixtures for this weekend, starting from Saturday. Sheffield United and Everton will start it up this weekend. That's talking about a Saturday. I'll just run through the fixtures that we have. We have Sheffield and Everton in action, Brentford and Bournemouth also in action, Burnley and Tottenham Hotspur in action, Chelsea and Nottingham Forest is also in action on Saturdays. Let's flip over to other fixtures for Saturday. You have Manchester City and Fulham, Brighton and Newcastle will also be in action. Moving over to games for Sunday, of course, that's where you have the big one. Crystal Palace and Wolverhampton, Liverpool and Aston Villa, and Arsenal and Manchester United. Yes, that's the big fixture for this weekend. The big one. So I'm going to start off with Austin first. We won't go to because I know exactly in England right now. I mean, it's buzzing because it's early. I mean, this is the fourth game for this season, and you already have this blockbuster happening already. Austin, take it from here.
I know, sometimes I don't understand the draw, you know. We've seen Chelsea,
Liverpool, yes.
Liverpool, now we're going just week 4, and we're going to be having Super Sunday, Arsenal and Manchester United. Ooh, that's massive. And surprisingly, in the media, they've not been talking about the weekend matches because there is Saudi Arabia that is always threatening the players in Europe and the EPL. So everyone's eyes on transfer deadline day. But this is a really big fixture for the Gunners. Mikel Arteta and his team, they need to show that they can actually really compete. Just to let our viewers know that there's a live game going on right now in the Premier League where Luton is hosting West Ham, and it is West Ham with a 1-0 lead. The game is in its 75th minute, and it seems like the Hammers will just run away with an important victory on the road. Segun Vincent, you listen to Mikel Arteta. I like listening to him talk about football. He has sound knowledge about the game. You think he can translate that into victory against Manchester United on Sunday?
It's not going to be an easy ride. Man, you have Holland back, although Van is injured. And man, you have they don't have. I think they signed a Leon on a loan, but I don't know whether he's going to register on time to be able to play, make the game. Even if he does, probably won't have really trained with them, so probably will be coming in. It's going to be an interesting fixture. Arsenal, on the other hand, have been trying too many tactics, and the tactics that I think has been hurting their finger. Playing Partey as right back, playing the back three. He's trying to copy his brother on the other side. I told Cecilia when we were on break that it seems that Arteta doesn't have white hair, and I don't know why. He has been on the game for 2 years. Arsenal,
it's not one of the biggest
problem Arsenal have is that they're not able to manage games. And that's one of the things that caused them the league last season. Yeah, last season and this season against Fulham, and that game was almost dead and buried. And for some funny reasons, Inchequidus made the wrong pass, and then voila, they lost the points there. And these are games that are going to test their mentality because they don't know a couple of deals there. Timber is injured. And at the time of this fixture, man, you have brought in Onana. Onana, he has his moments. You know, they brought in Oyland, they brought in Mason Mount. Mason Mount is meant to US yet to do an assist or a goal. Probably maybe it's good somewhere else that we don't know about. And they got in Amrabat, you know, probably maybe we play Concessioning in a different role. Excuse me, in a different role. Let's say Panzer 4. Well, Arsenal at home, so Arsenal might most likely get a win or a draw in that game. If it was on Rutherford, probably would have said something different. But let's say Panzer 4, make Arteta, and hopefully they get the result done over the weekend.
Well, there's so many injuries for Manchester United. We'll have to see what coach Eric Ten Hag will come up with. But he's expecting that some of the new signing, especially the £72 million signing, he's ready to start. He came in injured, but after 3 games, he believes he's ready to start that game. Also talking about the fact that he loves the business they've done so far in the season. He's really looking forward to that game against Arsenal. 2 wins out of 3 matches. You think, you said it's going to be a win or a draw because Arsenal is at home. Yeah. So Emirates, it's somewhere that they can actually, get that win for United.
There's a time that.
But the way he's been, his tactics, I mean, he defended tactics in a very metaphorical manner. What's going to come up with?
And everybody's waiting at what's he going to do on Sunday? What's he going to do? Because if he does that thing that he did, it may not work. They're going to lose. But Man U too are not in a good space.
Yeah, of course, the injuries,
injuries. And then, of course, yes, some of their players are not able to perform. Yeah. Probably they need some fire to perform. Probably they need some prayers to. That's not like Anthony, Sancho. They've not been Marshall. For some funny reason, he just seems to keep being in the team and never goes away. I don't know how it pans out for them. And then Oyland is back. Probably trained. Probably should start the game. Probably let's say it pans out for them. And then hopefully Onana is on his
He'll be ready.
He'll be ready.
On his good day. Okay. Also, I mean, when you look at a team like Manchester United, sometimes you don't even know what they're going to come up with. Even Arsenal, too, you don't know what it's going to come up with. The 2 teams happen to be a side that's so unpredictable.
Yeah, particularly when, there's something they need to prove. Manchester United and Arsenal comes with so much, aside from the football, the fans, the managers, the history, the table, and that's why I do not like that this fixture is happening now for the bookmakers and the match readers. There isn't so much to look into. Just 3 games played by both sides. Arsenal with 7 points, Manchester United with 6, 2 wins and 1 defeat for the Red Devils, and then 2 wins and a draw for Arsenal. So the managers will need to be doing a lot of match reading on that day. And if you take a look at it properly, Arsenal's got the momentum. They somehow found a way to get the media talking about them just how they did last season. So coming into the new season and winning their first 2 matches and then dropping points the way they shouldn't have, dropped points against Fulham, we give them that reminder that they need to do something. While Manchester United had to dig deep at home against Nottingham Forest. Now Ten Hag has a big issue to deal with. When you are conceding 2 goals in 4 minutes at home, then there's a problem. And the season is just starting and you're bringing in players to, come join the squad, and then they need to understand themselves, unlike Arsenal that seem to have gotten some level of stability. And Mikel Arteta is just trying to get the new guys to know the team. So if he sets up properly against United, there might just be some problems for United, particularly if Kai Havertz gets into it, I'm sure Arsenal fans won't like to hear that. But I think Kai Havertz, when he clicks and then Declan Rice gets into his work rate mode, then it will be difficult to beat Arsenal right in that middle. Now he's still confused about what to do with Partey. I think I won't touch Partey, judging from what he did last season. But I understand that he thinks he can, you know, just try things for maybe the first 10 games of the season. But you see, football can be funny. If you have a bad start, it can just affect the rest of your season. So what I'm trying to say is with Manchester United and Arsenal, you never say never. You just sit tight, watch the game, and then you come back to give analysis. Because you can come now and say Manchester United are suffering injuries, and then they just file out there and realize that we're playing Arsenal and we love to beat Arsenal. And then they will win the day. Arsenal need to say, oh, we are the Gunners. We showed character last season. We showed intent. We told the world that we can compete for the league title. City beat us to it because they have better squad depth. They have more experienced players and quality players. But we somehow held our own ground and want to consolidate this season. That can push the Gunners, and they will just go out to win it. So it's 50-50 for me. Let football give us the winner. Oh,
I know. You're going to go there because football has actually proven you wrong so many times. So right now, you don't know football again, all right? We agree on that.
I totally agree, Cecilia. I can't call games anymore, you know.
No, you
I
can't.
can't even, I just want to watch the games, you know, because it's competitive at every level.
Yeah.
One would have thought Newcastle last season would never have lost that game that they lost to Liverpool.
Liverpool, yeah.
And they had the man advantage. Who would have thought that Newcastle would lose such a game? So this is the Premier League where anything can happen. So let's wait and see.
They had that 3 points in the bag and they threw it away, just like Arsenal had the trophy right there with them and decided to just let it go, give it to Man City. They were holding it for Man City. Come collect this from us. All right, let's talk a little bit about transfer. Some deals that were made earlier today. João Felix, of course, is completely transferred to Barcelona. I mean, that's interesting from Atletico Madrid. Remember, 31 times appearances for Portugal, and not just that, was on loan last season at Chelsea, and he was able to make, now he will be at Barcelona. 34 goals, 131 appearances for Atletico. Well, they won the league with them 2020 and 2021. That's the league title that Atletico Madrid won. So he would not have, let's say he have a home now, but he struggled at Atletico Madrid. Then he had to go to Chelsea. I mean, remember when he was signed from Benfica from record, I'm trying to remember how much now. Record deal on something million. Yeah, it was a record deal.
I hope Barcelona can register him, Sha. Yeah, I hope Barcelona can register him. When you know they have issues registering players. I really hope I really hope. And because it's going to be any big wages. It's one of the issues they're going to have. We're having Cancelo, I think, I believe that, well, Barcelona, I don't know how they're going to involve in playing João Felix and Lewandowski. Lewandowski earlier this season complained about the tactics that they're not playing too many offensive players. It seems isolated in the front, and when they bring offensive players, they start to play, knowing that João Felix is not like a natural nine, more like a first kind of one. Like we like to roam about. Playing with Lewandowski, it means that somebody positions under threat. Let's see how it pans out for him and wish him all the best.
Yeah, another one. I mean, Palmer from Man City to Chelsea. You know, sometimes Austin, when I look at players, I mean, okay, maybe we should leave that and talk about bigger names because Palmer, that's him right there. Should we leave that? Talk about bigger move. Talk about Sofian Amrabat that United have signed on loan. The club he plays for Fiorentina prefers a permanent deal, but because, as you mentioned, when it comes to these. When it comes to, how do I put it now, when trying to obey the fair play, FFA rules. So that's why they're not signing him now. He's going to be on loan. He's a defensive midfielder, 8.5 million, and then on loan for 1 season. Also, we're laughing when I say I don't want to talk about Chelsea players because they keep signing everyone, and you sometimes.
I think they're going to sign you too.
Sometimes you lost count.
No, Cecilia, I was smiling because to an extent I thought you were saying because of the name Cole Palmer, you know, and then he might just get to Chelsea now, and then he just sparks. He's from Manchester City Academy. He represented England in the under-21 championship that they won. He's a good prospect, and he's English. So for Chelsea, to be signing in, there must be something in such a player. You know, and I've been reading and hearing a lot that say he's hungry, he's very good on the ball, he's versatile.
We heard all that last season.
No, you know, Cecilia, because we said all of this about Phil Foden. Remember, they also criticized when Jack Grealish was leaving Aston Villa to Man City, but look at him today. So It just takes one good season, and we'll be talking about Cole Palmer. So there must be something in the player that Poch saw that made him sign him. So we'll get to see.
Yeah, it's not about the player itself. It's about the way Chelsea are just signing players. That's where I was going to. So each time I see they signing another player, I'm like, what happened to all the ones you signed? I mean, they did a clearance sales, at the beginning of the season, and then they're bringing in other players that maybe another clearance sale at the end of this. But let's just wrap it up quickly. We promise you that you will. I don't know if we have time. You will listen to Serena Vigma. Okay, we don't have time to actually listen to her. That applause that she actually gave to the Spanish women's national team for what they did at the FIFA Women's World Cup. Okay, we don't have time for that, so we gotta go as usual. Austin?
Yeah, I know I said good things about Cole Palmer, but to set the record straight, I won't pay £40 million for him. I will not do that. So that's it. Chelsea did. So let's see what they can do with him. That's the show in London. I'm Austin Okonakman. In everything you do, remember, keep talking sports. Bye for now.
Shagun Vincent, it's good to have you.
It's good to have you too. As for Cole Palmer, I want to know the juju that you use or what you're using to bath so I can use it too. So maybe Chelsea can sign me.
Okay, yeah, if you're a footballer, of course, Chelsea will definitely sign you. All right, so we'll leave you with, the applause that was given to the Spanish women's national team by Serena Vigma. That's the coach of England women's national team. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cecilia Omogbe. Have a good night's rest.